To another session of the Business Renovator. Winning Wednesday rather than Hump Day. I'll be right back right after this. And we're back. Thank you for being here. If you're here live, awesome. If you're here watching it on the replay, just let me know by going #replay. If you're seeing this in the YouTube channel, if you would subscribe to our channel, The Business Renovator, that would be fantastic. And if you've got some comments or feedback, I'd love to hear it. Good, bad, and the ugly, because we can't get better if we don't have input. And one other ask is if there's somebody in your circle, maybe in one of your service clubs like a Rotary Club or maybe Boys and Girls Club, Lions Club, an association, the place you hang out for your spiritual rejuvenation, that has a story that you would like to give them a place to share their voice, and they have something in and around sales, marketing, and or mindset, shoot me a note, coachphil.ca. So Winning Wednesday, or sometimes AKA, has been known as Hump Day. And I think the Hump Day side of it is more of a victim's mindset. And the Winning Wednesday is something that would serve all of us individually, you, yourself, and I, in a better way. T. Harv Eker, who's been in the space of growing and helping people grow, has a really good quote I really like, and it's where thoughts go, energy flows, and results show. So if you look at your results, if I look at my results, am I winning? Am I making a difference? If not, what could you do? What could I do to make a difference? So that's what I wanted to talk about this Wednesday, is to what could you do? Well, I went back to one of my favorite authors and teachers, who is unfortunately no longer with us in the physical plane, but his legacy lives on with his company that's still around and a couple of books that he's written. He hasn't read a lot. This one's hard to get hold of and very expensive now, apparently. It's this one right here, A Better World, A Better You, by Lou Tice. And he had started a business to help people change the way they think, so they change the way they live. And I've been dabbling, and I'd say dabbling because if I'd implemented it like he did, my life would be considerably different. Which reminds me about a story, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get it exactly right, but it was about a lady in her 60s whose son was working on the car. The jack collapsed, the car fell down, and she wasn't a very large woman. She wasn't athletically powerful, but she was able to lift the car off of her son high enough that he could crawl out. Well, I've never done that. I don't even know if I could do that. Never had the test. But the story goes on to, there's somebody that's writing either for a magazine or a book and looking for peak performers of a variety of kinds. And he'd been trying to have an interview with her for a long time, and she kept putting it off. Eventually, he was, with his persistence, ended up getting the interview. And it turns out what she was afraid of, after he interviewed it, or during the interview, he uncovered that she'd always wanted to be a geologist. But being a female, her brother got the finances and the support from a family to go to college, university, and carry on, and she never did. A good thing things have changed a little bit from these days. She could never go to school. She raised a family and was a wife. I guess that's the way the things were back in her day. And fortunately, things have changed and evolved. Maybe not to the degree women would like them to, but that's another topic for another day. But it's important to know that what she was afraid of, well, first of all, she did want to go to school, and she wanted to be a geologist. And the fellow who was interviewing her said, "Well, why don't you go to school now?" And she says, "Well, I think at the time she was 66." And she said, "Well, I'll be 70. And he says, "Well, if you don't go to school, after 4 years, you'll still be 70. So why not go after what you really want?" And I guess really the underlying thing that was her obstacle was her perception. And she was feeling that if she went to school after lifting the vehicle off of her son, she was afraid of what else had she missed out on because of her limiting thinking, and having the opportunity to save her son and have this crazy superhuman power made her think that she had been underliving, and she was afraid of or embarrassed of that. So that's not exactly how the story goes, but that's a paraphrase story. What I would encourage all of you watching this now or on a hashtag replay is to think about you, and so that you're not living with regret, and focus on what it is you want to do. So that's what my goal is for the rest of my days on this physical plane. And going back to this book, I was just looking at the chapter titles, and a couple of things that came to mind for me were the power of our thoughts. They either move us towards what we want or towards what we don't want. As Harv Ecker's quote went, where our thoughts go, energy flows and results show. So looking at my results are not where I would exactly like to be. So there's some room for growth and improvement for me in my own existence, my own life. So going back to this book by Lou Tice, he reminded me of something called the reticular activating system. And its job is to, and it works for us whether we deliberately use it, pick it and plan it and set intentions or not. It's working for us all the time by default. And the reticular activating system is a net-like group of neurons in our brain. It's like a filter. If you think of the screen on your house, on a window, we open the window and there's a screen there in most countries. And the reason we have the screen is to allow the fresh air to come in or the bad air to get out, and to keep the flying things like mosquitoes and flies, etc., from getting in the house. Well, our brain works similarly in that where our whatever thoughts we put into, if you can imagine a grid pattern with much the same as a screen window, but a little bit larger so you can put something in it in terms of goals and aspirations. And if you put things in there that you really, really want, the reticular activating system will bring up clues, ideas, intuitive thoughts around things. I was having a conversation with a good buddy of mine just yesterday, matter of fact, and he was sharing how wasn't it interesting how synchronicity kicked in. He's looking at expanding his knowledge and his expertise in real estate investing, and over the last couple of weeks, because his energy has been focused on that and his thoughts have been on that, he's bumped into or been introduced to or stumbled across information around that topic. And we were talking about that yesterday, and he said, "Isn't it interesting how this happened?" So I reminded him about the reticular activating system, because he set the intention, set the goal, has the aspiration at some level to expand his knowledge and his portfolio in real estate. He's getting information, and not all of the things that are showing up are solving his challenges. What's interesting, though, is as we go down that path following our reticular activating system, we get more clues as to and information that helps us become smarter selectors or choice makers, because we have more information that we probably wouldn't have had any other way. And as a result of that, we become smarter or more aware. And that's really what the reticular activating system is all about. But it also helps us see danger. So if there's something that's going to harm us, it'll point that out. It'll heighten our awareness. So just imagine you're driving your car and everything's cool. Nothing's going wrong. You kind of know where you're going. Well, actually, you do know where you're not kind of, you do know where you're going, and you kind of know how you're going to get there. Something happens along the way. Your awareness on how to maneuver the vehicle in a safer fashion is raised, it's heightened. But when the threat of or the incident disappears or you're safely by it, then you'll calm down and get back into the automatic thinking process in driving. You don't really have to think too much once you learn how to drive. So that's the reticular activating system. So that helps me, and it would help anybody who chooses to use it to have a winning Wednesday or Wednesday versus a hump day, which is hump day is usually, oh my God, it's hump day where we can go downhill and coast. Well, why coast through life? Why not do it on a want to, choose to, love it basis more often than not? And one of the challenges in doing all of this, though, is an internal dialogue that we have, and people call it self-talk. Some do, some call it something else. But it's a conversation or a dialogue we're having with ourselves on a regular basis, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. If you don't have any goals, you're setting yourself up to live a life of mediocrity. And if you have goals that you really want to go after, then you'll find ways, and your reticular activating system will help you do it. Now, to help yourself and your RAS, reticular activating system, be more potent, more powerful, and more effective, here's my challenge, or here's my idea for you. I guess the challenge is to do it. The idea is to capture your wins on a regular basis. Big or small, recall them all, because they'll all add to your effectiveness. And I would encourage you to handwrite them, just because there's a connection between our writing and our neurons in our brain versus actually keyboarding. Keyboarding doesn't have the same engagement as writing. Once you've written them, if you want to digitize them and put them into a Word document or a word processor or your favorite other app for capturing your thoughts and ideas that you could use for other things later, by all means do that, or dictate them if you want. But I would encourage you to write them first. Write or print, but with your hand. And maybe Wednesday, instead of being hump day, turn it really into Wednesdays, and actually make Wednesdays the day that you reflect on, if you're not doing it daily, to reflect on your wins for the week. So from Wednesday to Wednesday, what did you do? What did you accomplish? What did you overcome? What did you battle through? What goal did you accomplish? Remember, it doesn't matter the size of the goal or the activity, just capture them. And I think that's probably a great place to, I was going to end it, but just before I do that, controlling our self-talk. And I'm reminded about this one. This is from a famous boxer in his day. He's, I don't know how old he is now, or even if he's still around, but when he was starting in his boxing career, he was using self-talk on purpose. He was kind of arrogant about it, or maybe obnoxious to some people, because he didn't just do the affirming and declarations quietly to himself. He did them publicly, and this is what he would say. And if you remember when you hear this and you remember who it is, send me a message and put his name, either his given name or his chosen name afterwards that he became known for. And it goes like this. He's like a butterfly. So he flies like a butterfly, or floats like a butterfly, and stings like a bee. If you know who that was, send me a message. I know who it was, so I'll know if you got it right. But the idea behind that statement is, what is it you're saying to yourself? What is your self-talk? Do you have affirmations or declarations that you're saying on a regular basis that support and serve you? Not the 50 or 60,000 thoughts or ideas or things you're saying to yourself that disengage or take you away, or is negative self-talk, not that stuff. But what are the positive things that you're saying and striving to be, to grow into, to become? And when you do that, the other thing that you'll get out of this whole process is you'll develop new habits, like driving your car automatically. But this is different because you already know how to drive a car, perhaps, and you wanted to do something else. Maybe you wanted to be the equivalent of a geologist, like that senior who lifted the car off of her son. Whatever yours is, apparently age has no meaning, or shouldn't be a restriction. We're never too old or too young to do most of the things we want to do. There might be a learning curve. There might be skills we need to develop. There might be some attitudes we need to shift and change. But we can do that. We've learned how to do what we've done so far. Why not purposefully, not by accident, but on purpose, develop yourself into the person that you would like to love to be? So on that note, one last thing to share with you on the screen here. Remember, if you're watching this in the replay, please go #replay. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. And if you have a comment, some feedback, I'd love to hear about it. And if there's somebody that you believe that would fit within the Business Renovator, that would serve the community out there and has a great message to share, have an introduction. Happy to have a conversation with them. And I want you to remember this little thing that I'm going to put up here as soon as my cursor starts working again. It's great when technology works, but right now it's not. It's broken. So I will do it in a different way. Hang on as I turn away from the camera and bring something up. What I want you to remember is that you are truly wonderful. And I want you to, or I encourage you to think of yourself in that way. You are unique and you are wonderful. Go act like it. Have a great day. And I'll come back on the screen. Wow, technology is great when it works. We had a mouse technology challenge. It wouldn't allow me to do anything. So now we've got it activated. Remember, you are wonderful. The U is a U on purpose, not an O, because you are wonderful, not O is wonderful. Much success. See you later.